Greetings! Welcome to another action-packed episode of Ghosts Are Near, where we explore various aspects of the paranormal and paranormal investigation. I'm your host, Keith Johnson, also the founder of New England Anomalies Research. With me is my co-host and co-founder of N.E.A.R, Sandra Johnson.
Hello there.
Unfortunately, my brother Carl is behind the camera today, so he's doing work back there. Hello, Carl. Glad to have you on the team. So
I'm here for you.
Good.
Thank you, Carl, for stepping in there and pitching in. We do
know
appreciate
things
it.
are in good hands.
Yes.
Well, today we have a very distinguished guest, very special guest, who's come to visit us all the way from Ohio. I would like to, without further ado, introduce Reverend Tracey Puckett of Southern Ohio Paranormal Investigations. So glad to have you with us, Tracey.
Well, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Tracey.
Yes, we really do appreciate you coming all this way.
Well, it's been a blast.
How's the weather in Ohio compared to here?
Hot and very dry. I haven't mowed my grass in over a month.
Well, I think it's a good thing. I'm not a huge fan of mowing the lawn. I usually try to get Keith to do it when I can.
Mm-hmm. But it hasn't needed it that much lately, fortunately. So, Tracey, tell us a little about yourself. How did Southern Ohio Paranormal Investigations come into being? I know it was the brainchild of your dear wife, Anna. We all know this.
Yes.
Well, so maybe you should talk about Anna first.
Okay, well, that's a good idea, because I'm sure she'll be catching this episode. It was an idea of Anna's to get a group of friends of hers together to go on some investigations with her. And it was pretty hard to do because each time it would come time to actually investigate something, people tend to get scared, and, investigating spooky places isn't for everybody, as you both well know.
Yes, this is true.
But so she just had played around with the idea. So one day, one of my days off, I put some things down on paper and made it happen for her. And since we've been officially a group, we've had made a lot of great friends along the way. Examples A and B right here, and just the paranormal community have been really kind to us, and we've been able to do a lot of wonderful things as a result.
Can you tell me how Anna initially became interested in the paranormal? I understand that she had some interesting experiences early on.
Yes, and I can tell this story with her permission, so I don't have to hold back. Her first encounter with the paranormal was very violent, perhaps demonic. And during her age at the time, I believe she was about 12, 13. Her and her mother had an encounter in a home they lived in. And her mother was physically lifted up by an unseen force and carried down the stairs and slammed at the bottom, never touching a step the entire way down.
Really?
And Anna, a young teenage girl, was there to witness this.
Mm-hmm.
Anna also, by the way, coincidentally, Anna lost her father when she was 7 years old. So,
okay.
She had a pretty traumatic childhood previous to this anyway, and 2 house fires also when she was a young girl. But anyway, this on top of that, perhaps there's a connection somewhere. Maybe one day we'll know. But that was her first encounter with the paranormal, and it was very dramatic. And she since, when they moved, found out from her mother that many things were going on there that her mother was not sharing with her because she didn't want to scare Anna, her being a kid at the time.
Did they know any of the history of the location?
I've tried to research that and get in contact with the owners, and they weren't willing to share any information. Today it's a rental property, so maybe they felt that there was a chance they could lose some income if something was discovered. But
of course.
I'm sure some people that would have the opposite effect on them. They'd want nothing more to do with it, let alone explore it, this aspect of the paranormal, or the paranormal in general.
Well, on a daily basis, I refer to Anna as a genius because she's a smart cookie. She's smart enough for the both of us.
It's good to have a genius in your group. I think we should have one.
Well, you do, Carl, right?
Yes, right. Just ask him, right?
So.
Well, Tracey, Anna, is she? She's a nurse, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's a nurse. She works locally. As a matter of fact, across the street from our house.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's convenient.
Very convenient. No gas money involved whatsoever.
Oh, great. So, of course, she's a very compassionate person.
Oh,
She
yeah.
works in the medical
Yes.
field. Tell us a little about yourself. Of course, you are an ordained minister.
Well, I'm a licensed local pastor.
Okay.
In my particular denomination that I function out of, there's quite a lengthy process for full ordainment, but I still do all those pastoral things like marry people and bless homes and investigate paranormal activity and things like that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, some of the folks that go to my church may be checking this episode out. So hello to all you folks from that place.
Wow. Great.
Hello to you
Fantastic.
all.
Public TV, so I don't know if I can mention it.
Well,
I think you can mention the
Yeah.
church names. I think that would be fine. It's really just brand names we can't go into, that sort of thing.
By
So.
Roxo.
Could you? I just wanted to get back to Anna for just a little bit, before we get into your history with this.
Sure.
Were there any other? You said that she had a number of experiences. Were there any other things that occurred that might be significant and led to her interest?
Before she was a teenager, as I said, she lost her father very early on to two house fires before he passed away. So she had a pretty good start on having lots of traumatic experiences. But yeah, she would often. She remembers waking up, and her mother can verify these stories. Not necessarily in the home I mentioned earlier, where they had the really violent encounter, but claw marks, the sound of similar sounds to claws on the wood floor, growling. Figures staring
Really?
in front of windows. Entities that try to mess with people often just give enough to scare, if you can imagine from the perspective of a child. But yeah, up until she was late in her later teenage years, these things eased off. But the most dramatic was definitely the one her and her mother experienced together at the same time, which was the stair incident, I call it.
And I think for half the people, they're going to become very interested in the field. The other half, it's going to cause them, like Keith said, to become very, very turned off and very frightened.
Well, yeah, and she and I both, we didn't know each other when we were teenagers, but as people tend to do, we've both experimented with various methods of...
Do you mean like Ouija boards and that sort of thing?
Yes, as many people do. We don't do that now. Our methods have changed somewhat, but yeah, we've tried a lot of methods, and thanks to the paranormal community being very popular these days, there's groups all over the place. They're coming out of the woodworks. They're just everywhere, and because of that exposure, more smooth. I don't want to say better methods, but more scientific, more focused methods have come to the surface, and we've adopted some of those, and we're also continuing, as every other group is doing, to try to fashion some of these methods into our own little flavor, our own style. Okay,
and as far as the formation of S.O.P.I, or did Anna have any organizations before she met you, or was this something that happened after you two got together and you decided you wanted to form an organization?
This was after. And I tried to help her by coming up with a catchy name. None of them worked. They were horrible names. They were so bad I can't remember them. But she didn't really... S.O.P.I, or S.O.P.I, as Todd Sheets likes to say. S.O.P.I.
I thought it was soapy, too.
Yeah, well, thank you. But
remember, no products advertising.
that works, I think, because she wasn't trying to have a catchy name. She just said, well, Southern Ohio Paranormal Investigations is what we do. I was like, S.O.P.I, I like it.
Yeah, that pretty much describes it, though. Very much.
Yeah. It saves a lot of money putting that on T-shirts as opposed to the entire word,
Oh, yes. Yes, exactly. At the logo right here. Everyone can see.
Well, that's embarrassing. I'm wearing that up.
There we go, the logo right here. And there's the handsome face right there. See?
Now, there have been a lot of a lot of programming in the past few years on Sci-Fi Channel,
Oh, yeah.
Travel Channel, Discovery, A&E. All of these stations have paranormal programming. They highlight different paranormal organizations. They show people going and doing investigations. They show a lot of. They highlight cryptozoology, these sorts of things. Is this why you decided? Is this one of what kind of spurred you both on to form an organization? Did you see something on TV and say, okay, we need to kind of incorporate here and band together and start helping people with what they're going through?
Yeah, thanks to the programming, we hadn't. Maybe Anna had and just hadn't mentioned to me, but I'd never considered, helping people in that way.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed to work. That was something Anna wanted to do. Of course, I started out just to help her, and of course I've been hooked ever since. But me being a pastor and her, doing these type of investigations, it just worked. It made for a pretty good duo. And S.O.P.I is now 10 members strong, and we have what we call the S.O.P.I network, which is basically anybody that wants to help do something. If there's anyone out there that wants to learn how to do something, or just even ask a question, we make ourselves available. That's actually what that little flyer is that you held up.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, so it's not really a network as far as like a family of groups. It's more an extension of S.O.P.I. How does that work?
Basically, we're 10 people strong. We don't really need more members. But if someone says, "Oh, come on, we want to help. We really are interested in learning this kind of thing," we'll take them under our wing and show them what we can.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a tutelage program, you might say, and that's one of the things I lately have been really interested in focusing on, and that's sharing what we've learned. Which many groups know much more than us. That's not a problem. But if someone wants to know what we've learned, I'd be glad to share it with them. And so we do public appearances at libraries in the street. There's an event coming to our town in October. Quite a few events coming to our town in October. But we're pretty booked for October.
Yes.
It's a busy time for all of us. That's for sure. You also do a lot of. I know you do client investigations, but I think S.O.P.I does. You do many of the famous haunts around the country. You do a lot of traveling.
There's always lag time. There's always the downtime when things are slow between calls.
Yes.
And so you got to keep your skills sharp. So one of the things we like to do when we can, we're not money trees, but when we can, we travel. And we do things like visit Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And investigate some of these famous places. But we really don't have to travel far to do that. Ohio, Southern Ohio, Northern Ohio. Ohio is chock full of locations that are allegedly haunted, as is West Virginia, Kentucky. And where we're located in the southern tip, we're right in the tri-state. We have easy access to all 3 states. A lot of history.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been to Mansfield Prison.
And what did you experience there?
At Mansfield?
Yes.
When I went to Mansfield, I'd seen it on various television shows, and I thought to myself, well, you pay money to go see a haunted place. There's no way. That's got to be a farce. But I got to say that's a hot spot, in my opinion.
I see.
Okay, and before you go into that, can you just tell everyone where it's located?
It's located in Mansfield, Ohio. By the way, if you want to look that up on the internet, it's known as the Ohio State Reformatory. I call it Mansfield Prison.
Good. And you experienced?
Almost everything in one night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The only thing that I didn't experience that night was being touched.
That's good. That's always a good thing, when you're not touched.
Yes, no, I have been touched, but all sorts of things happened to me and my photographer that was there that night. Hi, Ro. She signed on with us as the photographer.
Okay.
But she now does pretty much anything any of the rest of us can do. But that was her first investigation period. That was her boot camp.
That's how she got her feet wet.
And boy, did she get broke in, yeah.
Wow. So what did you experience there, like, for example?
Well, I'd heard people talk about the overwhelming sense of sadness or dread, and that sounds kind of abstract until it's happened. You know, now when I hear that, I know exactly what they're talking about. Odors. That it was a blizzard that night, literally a blizzard. There was feet of snow on the ground. We didn't know if we was going to make it back to Portsmouth the next morning. And there was this strong scent of flowers that was smelled several times throughout the night. I only smelled it once. But as a matter of fact, in our experience there, as with many other places, but that it was kind of a textbook situation, because after it got about 3:30 and later in the morning, things really increased.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So what other places in Ohio that you've been to that are really considered hot spots?
Well, we've been to a few. There's one that's not famous that I consider a hot spot, which, like I said, I was touched there. It's an old hunting lodge that many of the local hunters use. That was fascinating because we didn't expect to find anything there. And let's see, Anna just got back from Penn State. What's the name of that one in Pennsylvania? The big prison.
Okay, yeah.
I can't think of what it's called.
Right.
She's gonna kill me. Anyway, she just got back from there last week. And lots of experiences from, I think there were 18 night watchers. That's one of the groups that we are affiliated with. You may have heard of the night watchers.
Oh, yes.
But I think it was 18. There was supposed to be 20 went, but 18
State
showed up.
Penitentiary?
Yeah, were you referring to Eastern State
That's
Penitentiary?
it.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, 18 of the night watchers had the entire facility to themselves. And so they had some interest. I don't know if any of the other individuals found anything there as far as collected any evidence. And it didn't really collect anything other than personal experiences, but you know, you can't use that to convince anybody. But she had some interesting things happen.
That's interesting. Now, since you are clergy, how do you approach investigations as clergy? Like, what would be your function? Obviously, you go in there, and if it is if it's a situation where it's a family in need, it's not a local investigation, it's a family who's called you in for help. I mean, you would obviously specialize in that. And,
well, yeah. If they happen to be a parishioner in my church, it's a piece of cake. Because all they have to do is say, hey, Tracy, come on over, I could use some help. But that would be top priority. You know, anytime there's a family or a kid, anytime somebody's afraid to live in their home, you know, that's top priority. But there's quite a few perspectives in S.O.P.I. Of course, Anna and I, we come into it with the Christian perspective.
Yes. Right.
And so we use that as our basis, our guideline for many of our theories that we prescribe to.
Right.
And so that's my approach.
Are there others in your group that kind of come from a different aspect, or do you all?
Yes. We've got quite an array. Anna and I represent, we're the Christian couple, and we have a Wiccan couple that are very good friends of ours. They help out. As a matter of fact, hello, Jen. I'm sure she's going to see this. But yeah, Jen is very handy with the rods, the divining rods.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when I was a kid, Grandpa and Dad would use the Y-shaped stick.
Oh, really?
And those old fellows could find water just at the snap of a finger with those things. But they didn't believe in anything supernatural.
Right. Yeah, it was just
you know, it was just commonplace. That's how they did it.
Yeah.
But of course, she's got a different perspective. She uses the copper. That's pretty popular now.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's done some interesting things.
Have you been
I didn't
able
buy
to
into
do
that, but she was pretty impressive with those.
Has she been able to, or have your group as a whole been able to couple any of what she has pinpointed with her use of the rods, maybe coupled it with an EVP or a photograph or whatever she's found?
No.
As yet? Not yet.
Jen and myself have yet to be on a investigation together at the same time this year. Because we're 10 members strong now, we do a lot of splinter grouping. And so we're, 10 people, going through the same investigation isn't always a convenient idea. But But yeah, we definitely plan to. And she has found some things with those rods. Coincidence? You be the judge.
Yeah, I know Heather Drolette from TAPS uses
Yeah.
the divining rods.
Right. You may have seen Heather on Ghost Hunters using the rods, and she's very successful with those. You know, I believe there's something to it. I've never used them myself, but if I was going to, I certainly have Heather there for advice. But do you ever work with sensitives? Those who are maybe psychic.
I have.
Are you or Anna sensitive at all?
Someone has asked me if I am, and my answer is just I don't know any better, so my answer has to be no. I think my sensitivities, the way I explain my feelings when I'm investigating is, it sounds to me like what I feel is like other investigators explain, that when you get used to investigating and your senses get more developed with practice,
right,
you just can pick things up a little easier.
Yeah.
You know, wind currents, vibrations,
yeah.
You know, what have you. But that's how I explain my feelings.
Right. And of course, the more you're in this field, the more attuned your senses become, because you are relying on your senses a lot
I
of the
do
time.
tend to, out of the 10 of us, I do tend to have quite a bit of luck with invitation. You know, show me a sign. You know, I tend to have pretty good luck with that.
Really?
More
Can you
so
give
than
us an
the other.
example?
The time that I was touched was very solid feeling. At first, it was really light.
Really?
And I thought, well, I turned on my light, you know, I had everybody taking pictures, and we was kind of looking. I thought, well, that could have been a spider web. Of course, we couldn't find any evidence of spider webs in the area we were at. Well, then, all the lights went out again. Everybody dispersed again, except for me and the other member. And I said, if there's anyone here that would like to give me a sign that you're with us, you have my permission to touch my hand. On cue.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, I freaked out. The lights came on again. Everybody shining the lights, taking pictures. Saw nothing.
Asking you shall receive, right?
Yeah. We tried to debunk it, couldn't do it.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Of course, people who are sensitive, I mean, somebody would call themselves asensitive, that can also be a drawback. I found it can be a little dangerous, because you go in with somebody who's channeling, say channeling the spirits there. We found that somebody, unless they have a lot of protection, they've been doing this for quite a number of years, or they just have a lot of positive faith, somebody could be vulnerable. I mean, do you agree with that? That
Oh, absolutely.
an entity could, I mean, if they know they're being recognized.
And that's why I'm very careful when I say invitation. I'm very limited to what I will give permission for an entity to do.
Yeah.
For instance, you have my permission to touch my hand.
Right.
You do not have my permission to enter me and take control.
Right,
Right,
exactly. Exactly, but you wouldn't go in necessarily, come on, show me what you got.
Right.
Right. Stand off.
Now, the sensitive, if that's the word we want to use for generic purposes, that I worked with, the technique she used was, I believe it's, for lack of a better term, ghost writing.
Okay.
And she was, you know,
automatic writing?
Yeah, she was very humble with that, and she doesn't claim to be a medium or anything, but very accurate, very accurate. She showed us where something was at, what it looked like, what it would look like. I mean, she was right on.
Ghost writing, I've never actually really heard that term. Is it automatic writing? How exactly did she do it?
She literally tries to focus, empty her mind, and just be as neutral as possible, and she has a sketchbook. And she would have, I'm not sure if she had a pencil or a charcoal pencil, but she would just sat in the dark, and as we were conducting an investigation, she would just, whatever would come to her, she would just allow her hand to move. In some cases it would be words, in some cases pictures. Many times she would even speak words.
Really?
She'd say, I don't know why, but I need to say, she would say a word.
So does she say, is it a form of channeling? Does she say that actually a spirit...
No.
It's more of just an impression that she's getting from the
Impression
environment.
is a very good way to say it.
Oh, okay.
Because to hear her describe, you know, I was like, well, how do you do that? What do you do? Well, I just try to be as, you know, keep my mind as open as possible, and just whatever I feel like writing down, you know, whatever has to be written. But
Yeah, 'cause we have a member in our group, Chris Finch, who's currently serving in the military, and He's our sketch artist, but the way he does it, it's not so much getting impressions. It's somebody describes, like a police sketch artist who, a client will describe, say, an apparition they've been seeing. He'll draw it out to their description. And of course, that's something entirely different, what he does.
That's neat.
Yeah. And I think every group should have one of them, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Genius and sketch artist.
Exactly. Exactly. Believe it or not, we're almost running out of time because this has gone by so fast, and we've loved having you here. And has Carl doing push-ups over there, keep himself occupied. So, but of course,
it's just something that geniuses do.
Yes. Well, I'm quickly going to ask you to read some of our contact info, Sandra, in our last few minutes.
Well, sure. But I think actually, before we do that, could we have some of S.O.P.I's contact information?
Yes, please.
Because they could use the advertisement as well.
Okay, well, if you want to email S.O.P.I, you can do that. And that is S.O.P.I Investigations, one I, S.O.P Investigations, and that is at Yahoo.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Okay, and your group covers which areas? So
it started out the Portsmouth area, but now it's the tri-state plus.
Okay.
Right.
So we do quite a bit of traveling.
Excellent.
And we here at New England Anomalies Research are available to help those, Carl's trying to make me laugh, in the New England area with alleged hauntings. And you can see our email address is ghostsarnear@cox.net. And of course, if you contact us or if you contact Tracey,
Sit right along here.
we will believe you.
Very good. Very good. Hey, you know, I hear you do a wicked Sean Connery, but I have to get this in last minute. I'd love to hear it.
Greetings, Goldfinger.
Excellent.
Get up off the floor, Carl.
Very good. Because we know that you do anachronisms too, of course. You know, your pseudonym is Tracey the Pirate, and
Arg.
yeah, right, exactly. You know, and my brother and I love to do things like that too, and it's just part of your character that we very much appreciate too. It's,
I'm glad someone appreciates me.
well, you have this fun side to you, and I think it's wonderful. And anybody goes to your website, they'll see that.
And just before we run out of time, we want a little bit of Jimmy Stewart, too.
Oh, okay. Put him on the spot.
It's not bad here, but just have some Campbell's soup over there. There.
Sorry, had to do it.
Okay. Well, anything you'd like to add to new investigators in the last 30 seconds?
Words of wisdom
Yes.
from Tracey Puckett,
Support the
paranormal
N.E.A.R
investigator.
crew. Watch this show often and tell your friends about it.
And thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope
Thank
to
you,
work
Tracey.
together very soon.
And good night.
Good night, and God bless.